a day. She asks if we going to heaven today. She asks if we going to heaven today, yeah. Uriel.
Flight boss, bitch. Hee hee. Summon my goddamn self in this motherfucker. Nigga, Archangel Uriel, this motherfucker. Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You know, listen to the mind of that turns moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're gonna talk about motherfucking Neptune flying through your motherfucking houses. Neptune through the houses. Your dream house. Yeah, so what do that goddamn mean? I ain't talking about like some shit I bought for my daughter, you know, like the Barbie doll dream house and all that kind of shit. I ain't talking about your house decorations and shit like that. No, we talking about through the motherfucking houses and these energetic forces. That's what I'm talking about. But in some way, shape, and form, we is talking about your dream house. So let's get into it. Motherfucking Neptune through the houses. Now let's astro chopper before we break down anything. Because you know, before we even talk about Neptune going through a house, we need to talk about what's Neptune first. Now Neptune is dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination. Right? So it taps you into the supernatural, taps you into the subconscious, taps you into the yin realm, right? But from a higher perspective. And we're going to get into that also. But check this out. See, with that 4 words I use, like dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination, check this out. Your dreams and imaginations, everybody have those. Everybody have dreams, everybody have imaginations. Now they can play out in 2 ways. Because there's always a yin and yang. There's always a negative and positive to things. So that's why I incorporated illusions and creativity. Because when you have dreams and imaginations, they can either be filtered out into 2 ways. They can either be perceived as illusions to others, or they can be perceived as creativity to others. So you see how Neptune plays? You see how deep Neptune is? Neptune is your dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination. Now, everybody got dreams and imagination, but you know, some people's dreams and imaginations may appear to others as this person is into an illusion. Other people's dreams and imaginations may come across as, you'd be like, damn, this person creative as fuck. You see what I'm saying? So, and then, once you break that down, you kind of realize, like, damn, there's a thin line. Ain't no thin line between love and hate. There's a thin line between illusions and creativity. There is a thin line. Because, you know what I'm saying, you can't really have too much creativity if you ain't in some form of an illusion. If you ain't in some form of imagination. You see what I'm saying? So you got to kind of get with the thing. Kind of got to get with it. But for the most part, here's Neptune on an even higher level. Neptune, look at each light. Each shape that you see out there as far as what you want to call a planet or a star. Each light is a conscious. You see what I'm saying? It's like a conscious level. So those are shapes and forms, or those are light bodies that you can go into to be consciously aware of that realm of reality. Now, the lowest, closest one to here, what pushes us in our animalistic natures and ones that formulate us as here, is like Mars. So that's probably like our lowest nature. So this is why Mars ruled the first house. Now once we get to our highest nature, our highest conscious body, that will be like Neptune. This is why Neptune rules the 12th house. So when you step into that conscious body, right, you're able to be consciously aware of dreams, illusions, creativity, imagination. You go all the way down to the first house in Mars, and then you are aware of your passion, your desires, your I am. Things that you're motivated to do, things that push you in this world. This is why Mars is red, because it creates shift. It got a lot of movement energy in it, a lot of shift energy in it. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna see a lot of the heavy emphasis of the red spectrum coming out of Mars also. You know what I'm saying? Then the next lowest one is Venus. You see what I'm saying? Then it's Mercury. And we're just talking about these rotations and the light's energies that it kind of give you. And when you step into these conscious awarenesses, it tell you how low it is compared to your chakra or your solar system level. So you know Mars is a root one. You know what I'm saying? Venus is not that far from the root one. So Venus also tap you into your animalistic natures, to your lower vibration shit. Then, you know what I'm saying? Then once we start to talk about Mercury and different other things, we have to switch up based upon positioning and rotation. But we're just talking about lights that give off, like the sun. The sun is the solar plexus. This is why the sun rules the 5th house. So it was birthed out of the 6th house, which is the Virgo house. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, it slid into the 5th house, but it still shared that centerpiece energy between the house chart between 1 through 12. So it's a deep science between that also, but that's going to be another video. I don't want to leave off because I know people are interested into knowing how do their Neptune in their house play out. So let's start off with the 1st house, right? Neptune in the 1st house. Now, like I said, it's always going to be compatible with dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination. So keep that in mind. So the 1st house represents your personality, personal issues, personal affairs. And anytime I say personal affairs, that's the personal people, places, and things that's in your life. If you personally know them and they personally know you, that's the 1st house. And the personal issues and the affairs is what help construct your personality as your upbringing in your life. Now, for the most part, when you have Neptune here, you are a person, you are a characteristic. You are a character. You have multiple characteristics. A lot of times you could take the shape and form of other people's personalities. You could kind of absorb other people's personal issues. You could kind of understand people's personalities based upon their personal affairs and things of that nature. And this is how you even get along with your own. Now, so this makes you very creative personally. A very dream and artistic person personally. You handle your personal issues unrealistically a lot of times though, so keep that in mind. But how you deal with your personal affairs is actually dealing with the higher realm. Things in that realm that's not actually meant to be brought down into reality unless you have sure real willpower to bring it here. But if it's something that's just meant to be left in dream thought or something like that, then a lot of times you need to keep that there, because when you align that with your personal affairs, a lot of times your personal affairs manifest situations in your life to make you feel doubtful of your dreams or doubtful of your imagination. So make sure that when you got Neptune in the 1st house, that your personal affairs is basically people, places, and things that resonate with the stuff you're into. Because your personal affairs, if you're just around a bunch of people you personally know, but they're not into the stuff that you're personally into, then with Neptune in the 1st house, expressing these type of things will cause a rejection or will cause an outcasting when you have Neptune in the 1st house, based upon your personal life, the people you personally know, and the things you're personally into. There will be a separation there. And anytime you choose to conflate the two or mix the two, it causes small catastrophic moments or disagreeable moments, or people looking at you like you're not quite right in the mind. But for the most part, check this out also. You could be put under illusions by other people's personalities. So try not to get overwhelmed by other people's personalities with Neptune in the 1st house also, because you could be creating illusions for yourself based upon other people's personality, personal issues, and affairs. And their personality, personal issues, and affairs may not even be what you are making it up to be. So you dive yourself into like this illusion, and then you end up dictating your own personal life based upon that illusion. So make sure you're not doing that. Now, Neptune in the 2nd house. Now, with Neptune in the 2nd house, this is a person who got a lot of dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination when it comes to the things that they value. They value systems, their resources, what they have to offer to the world. Now, what they have to offer to the world could be internally or externally. Internally could be a hidden gift, talent, trait, something they have learned along the way. Externally could be a resource or a person that they can rub shoulders with in order to get from point A to point B a lot faster. So, and it's the house of where you plant seeds and build your self-esteem. So it's a heavy Venetian house, if that's even a word. But Venus, Venetian house, that's a new word for y'all, Venetian. But that's a very Venus and Earth-like type of house, and moon-like connectively type of house. So when you have Neptune here, right? You got a lot of imagination, a lot of dreams that you have to offer to the world, a lot of creativity that you have to offer to the world, also a lot of illusions. But you may not be the person that, you might be the type of person that like to make your illusions work for you, because this is the house of planting seeds. Now also, you may value a lot of mysticism. You may value a lot of spirituality or dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination. But make sure you're not around people, places, and things that you value. Like I said, you have to value it. If you value it, these are the things you have to pay attention to. These things could be putting you into an illusion. So, the 2nd house could be material gains, like all the things that you value. That could be a person, place, or thing, a resource, a job. These things that you value, right? With Neptune in the 2nd house, you need to make sure that these things isn't putting you in some type of illusion, because they could be putting you into an illusion. So be aware of that also. Now, for the most part, and then it'll take a whole dream state wakeful experiences in order for you to get out of that circumstance. So make sure you're not doing that. You can have people manipulating you, putting you in an illusion, people taking money from you because they add these emotional values onto you that really don't even mean nothing to you. That's something to their life. So keep that in mind also. Now, Neptune in the third house. Now, Neptune in the third house represents your surroundings, what you're familiar with. Whether that's a person, place, or thing, gift, talent, trait, something you have learned along the way. As long as you're familiar with it, like not something you're unfamiliar with, not something you just learned, something you're familiar with, that's when it falls into the third house. Now, for the most part, when you have Neptune here, you got a lot of dreams, imagination, creativity to present to your surroundings, your neighborhood, people, everything that's in your close proximity. So that's your neighbors, friends, family, and things of that nature. Also, you got a lot of imagination, creativity, also illusion, to add on to the things that you're familiar with, whether that's a gift, talent, trait, or an illusion. Now, what you have to be careful of that you don't have certain friends or certain people that's in your close proximity that to you that's putting you into an illusion, making you do certain things that you may not necessarily want to do, making you waste time on things that's not true to your spiritual nature. So your surroundings could be a heavy influence on you and can overwhelm you when you have Neptune in the third house. So keep that in mind. Neptune in the fourth house. Now, the fourth house represents home, family, you know what I'm saying, domestic issues, private issues also. So keep that in mind also. And it also, wherever you gain emotional stability at, amongst yourself or a friend house or a relative house. Or it might be a place you can go to feel comfortable. As long as you can feel comfortable there and something that can match your vibe, it's going to fall into your fourth house in some way, shape, or form. Now you got, now with Neptune here, like I said, this is where all your dreams, illusions, creativity, and imaginations come out at. Within the home, or within private sectors, or with someone you can feel comfortable with, or in a location you can feel comfortable at, which is a lot of times is people's homes. But you know, sometimes people be secluded in their own spot within the home. You know, they may have a secluded room, a secluded area that they actually go to, so it goes deeper into that. And that would goes into aspects if you got like Scorpio in the fourth house, or if you got Aries in the fourth house, then that would let you know why you always got your single spot in the household. But for the most part, just the fourth house in general, when you have Neptune here, this is where all your dreams, imagination, creativity, and illusions come out. But a lot of times it's you can find yourself being into an illusion within the home, to the point that when you step outside the home, nothing appears to be real, and reality hits you a lot harder than it hits the average person. So you find yourself going through experiences that's very similar to others, but it may impact you a lot worse than the next person. So be aware of that also. Make sure you're not tying too much illusion, because here's how that can play out into early stages for a person that with Neptune in the fourth house. Person with Neptune in the fourth house may be raised with a mother or parents or family members or someone that's close that you could call home or family or close friends, right? And you may have grew up amongst them, and they may have been heavy spiritual or very superstitious, so they may have gave you a lot of morals or gave you a lot of fear or gave you a lot of tactics, to the point that these kind of play out as small shapes and forms of illusions. So when you take these in your upbringing and then you take yourself outside the home, you carry a lot of these traits with you. Now, when you go to school or grow up and get a job, or you do certain things and interact with the outside world, right? You start to understand that the outside world have many different influences, many different moral systems, many different family upbringings. So, as you be in an illusion with Neptune in the fourth house, how it can play a lot of times, these scenarios end up manifesting in ways where you end up being in opposing situations, or end up experiencing the outside life very in devastating ways and things of that nature. So keep that in mind also. That's how that can play out with Neptune in the fourth house. But you're very spiritual, and you're going to have very high senses when it comes to the home or family or domestic issues, and you got a creative way of how to handle domestic issues and how to gain emotional stability within yourself. A lot of times you may like to be to yourself more than to others also. Now, Neptune in the fifth house. Now, I have this placement also. So with Neptune being in the fifth house, right? Fifth house represents the way you express yourself. It also represents your entertainment factors, and that could go into three ways: the things you're entertained by, how you entertain, and the things you choose to entertain. Whether that's a person, place, or thing, conversation, gadgets, whatever, technology, however you want to go into it. Also, it's the house of how you have fun and enjoy yourself. And it's also your creative mechanism house, how you creatively express yourself. So with Neptune here, this makes you very dreamy, artistic, have a lot of creativity and imagination, add a lot of spirituality to the way you express yourself. You're entertained by a lot of supernatural things, you know what I'm saying? Spirituality and higher octaves of Jupiter type energies and things of that nature. This is things you're entertained by. This is how you have fun and enjoy yourself within the spirit or something that's dealing with imagination. So you may be a person that's into cartoons or art or craft or anything that can deal with art like that can deal with taking the reality and kind of mixing, forming it with some type of creative aspect and blending the two. So being able to have an artistic expression for things that's going on in reality. Anything that's dealing with that, that's A plus for Neptune in the 5th house. Also, and this is how a person who dive into their creativity. They use their creativity and with spirituality or dreams. Imagine they use their creativity for their dreams, imagination, creative illusions and things of that nature. So their dreams is wrapped up in a lot of different things. Now, like I said, there's always a yin to a yang. There's always a yang to a yin. So there's always a negative to a positive. Now, you can be in an illusion based upon someone else, the way they express themselves, or someone else's creative expressions, or the way someone else have fun and enjoy themselves, or things that other people are entertained by. You could be caught up in an illusion of these things. You could think these things are more than what they are based upon your own creative mind, having Neptune in here. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind also. For an example, like when it comes to entertainment can have you wrapped up in an illusion. But in this illusion, you get all this creativity and imagination, but you're still lost in that world. So you could be lost in the entertainment and art and creativity type aspects of this world. You see what I'm saying? With Neptune in the 5th house. Now, with Neptune being in the 6th house, now 6th house represents your work, health, whatever you're working on, your job, routine, scheduling, things you do on a day-to-day basis, and your ability to criticize and look at the details of things. So when you have Neptune here, a lot of times you have a lot of dreams to work and have higher positions and things of that nature. You got a lot of imagination and creativity that you like to work on. You work on your creativity with Neptune here a lot of times, and you have no problem with putting it into some type of routine or practical things that you do on a day-to-day basis and make practical sense out of these things and criticize and look at the details of it. Now here's the negative side of it. The negative side is you may criticize and look at the details of your imagination so much to the point that you kill your imagination and you become too logical, too left brain, too reality based, not doubting your start doubting your imagination, not seeing it how you should see it because you don't have the physical representations that's needed or the tools that's needed to see it come into fruition. So you start killing your dreams and you start killing other people's dreams around you. You start criticizing them also. So make sure you're not doing that. But for the most part, you could be in a form of an illusion when it comes to work also. You can start to think that it takes work to get any type of dream or creativity done also. So you don't want to get yourself wrapped up in that. But when it comes to you being at work or having something on schedule, you're the most creative person in the world. You know what I'm saying? Just to a person who lack practicality in their life, who may got all water and fire in their chart, you're going to be seen as the most practical person in their world. But they can't never say you don't make sense. And they can take a lot of your advice for them to get up off their ass. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind too. So with a Neptune in the 6th house, you kind of can criticize somebody else's dreams and formula and help them take shape and form so they can skyrocket off also. So a lot of Neptune in the 6th houses, y'all are psychologists. Y'all are the people that people call that need help. What do y'all call them? I don't even know the name for those people. Psychologists or whatever, people need counselors and things of that nature. Y'all are that, because actually Neptune don't like to be here, so it brings Neptune into reality. So you're able to bring people who are far out of reality into reality. Schizophrenic people, people who going through marriage, who need marriage counseling, people who going through domestic issues, people who need works on their own life, or people who just need some type of inspiration for them to get off their own ass. Like Neptune in the 6th houses, y'all motherfuckers is powerful, because this is the thing you need to understand. Oppositions and squares are positive when it comes to the houses. When it comes to just and then the sextiles and the trines are negative when it comes to the houses. And then it's like that and vice versa when you just talk about the natural planet alignments. The square and the oppositions play out negatively, and the sextiles and trines play out positively. You see what I'm saying? And here's why. Because your houses is your areas of life. So in life, you're here to learn. Your spirit is here to learn. So squares and oppositions. The square is the learning processes, and in the oppositions is the obstacles you have to go through in order to know what you need to get over. Now, sextiles and trines is something that you already have. So you may procrastinate, you may fall into and indulge in those energies and things of that nature. So your sextiles and trines actually play out negative when we're looking at it from a house perspective. But when we're looking at it from a planetary alignment perspective, your sextile and trine is the energy you push out. And then the opposition and the square is the energy you receive from other people's sextiles and trines. So that's why it play out positive and negative on that side. But on a house perspective, squares and oppositions is the positive, because your squares and oppositions help you learn. Your square house, this is why your first, fourth, seventh, and 10th, which is your ascendant, descendant, IC, and midheaven, is most important when it comes to the houses. Because why? They're square. So that's your main learning processes. So really, those houses is really like planned as one thing. You think your ascendant is really it, but really no. Your ascendant is carrying the energies of the 4th, 7th, and the 10th house, believe it or not. Because, and it goes even deeper than that, but let's finish this. Now you got Neptune in the 7th house. The 7th house represents your relationships and how you relate to people, places, and things, right? And your relationships on all sorts. So your relationship, I like to look at it like the Titanic. It can either sink or be led into the promised land, or be led into a dam. Now, regardless of who all on the ship, these is the people you're relating to. Now, the people you're relating to could steer the ship in this way or could steer the ship in that way. This is why you got to pay attention to who on your ship, because that relationship may not go into a promised land. And you may have people who might try to steer your ship into a dead end. So be careful of that. So for the most part, when you got Neptune in the 7th house, you got a lot of creativity and imagination and dreams to be in relationships. You got a lot of creativity to add to your relationships, your friendships, siblings, your mate, on all sorts, your marriages, kids, all your relationships. And you're very creative with how you relate to people, places, and things. But here's the negative side. You may end up being into an illusion a lot of times. You may be in a relationship that this person have you in an illusion. You may see representations every day that this person ain't good for you. But based upon what they're saying to you and what they're doing, they got you into an illusion, wrapped up in their light. So be careful of that. You know what I'm saying? Now, but you got a lot of creativity and imagination to relate to your relationships and to the world. Because how you relate yourself, how you relate to people, places, and things is very creative and artistic. So keep that in mind. Neptune in the 8th house. Now, with Neptune in the 8th house, right, you got a lot of dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination when it comes to the behind-the-scenes realm. See, the 8th house dealing with life, death, sex, greed, jealousy, motivation, desire, passion. So it's power and control. So right here, it's diving you into mysticism and occult. Now, mysticism is nothing more but communicating with the unknown. Like, for an example, I might have somebody around me stressed out as fuck. Now, I know they smoke weed, right? But they coming to me stressed out as fuck. Now, I might know that they don't never have no money, right? So, for the most part, them kicking a sob story ain't the actual issue. They really just want to hit a fucking nail. So instead of me adding on to their issues and me trying putting my spirit in their space and leaving possibilities for me to experience the same scenarios, I ain't gonna say a goddamn word. I'm just gonna light an L, right? And then I'm gonna be like this. Hit this motherfucker, hit this motherfucker. And look, they gonna hit this, they gonna be like, damn man, you read my mind. How you know that shit? I did mysticism. I communicated with the unknown, not verbally. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you talk about occult ain't just ain't nothing but doing shit behind closed doors. You have sex, you take a shit behind closed doors, you wash your ass behind closed doors. You do a lot of occult shit. You just got a lot of people here who go extremes with it. But for the most part, it's all occult shit. So let's take the spookism shit out of it. So for the most part, and also this is the transformation house, life and death. That ain't nothing but transformation. And sex ain't nothing but the joining of two energies to create another energy. So for the most part, when you got Neptune here, you're very creative when it comes to those matters. You're very creative when it comes to sex. You're very creative when it comes to the supernatural. You got a very imagination when it comes to things that's beneath the veil, behind the veil. You know what I'm saying? You could read people like a book. Now, a lot of times, you can let this overwhelm you, though. You let this put you into an illusion. Since you know so much and you're aware of so much, it puts you into an illusion. So you think if you do certain things and act on certain things, you think other people will be aware of this. Where really, you're just in your own illusional world, and these are things that you only perceive. Now, you're perceiving shit that's so deep that it makes you like, damn, I see this, but you feel doubtful with expressing these things. So you can hold a lot back with Neptune in the 8th house. So try not to hold a lot back, because you never know where your dreams and imagination can take you. You never know what you're exposing and bringing to the light can actually do for you. And you never know that it might not be actually hurting someone. It could be actually helping someone. So don't get lost into that kind of illusion when you got Neptune in the 8th house. But goddamn it, you got a lot of dreams and imagination, and you're very superstitious, and you know when someone's snooping around and someone not being right. You just gotta trust that. You don't trust that a lot of times, and you end up proving yourself right. You end up taking yourself through the scenario anyway and letting this person prove you right, when all you had to do was nip it in the butt from the beginning, what Neptune was trying to show you. Now, Neptune in the 9th house. Now, Neptune kind of like being here a little bit, but it really does well in the 12th house. But what is the 9th house? Higher education, learning, long distance travel, internally and externally. Internally could be within the mind, heart space, feelings and emotions, mental space. Externally could be physically, right? So that's traveling. Then it's wisdom, knowledge, meanings, reasonings, broad philosophical points of views of looking at the world, spirituality and God and things of that nature. Even astrology to a degree, and technology and science. Not technology, but science. Technology more like 11th house. But when you talk about Neptune being in the 9th house, what happens here is, see, you got a lot of dreams and imagination. You might have daydreamed a lot in school, but you had a lot of creativity. You might have liked art better than all the other classes, or the creative classes, or the classes that had teachers that was creative with their way of teaching. These was the classes that was your shit. But for the most part, with Neptune in the 9th house, you got a lot of dreams, imagination, creativity, and illusions when it comes to moral systems, spirituality, religion, broad philosophical points of views of looking at things. But here's the thing. It's always a negative side. Don't let the things that you was educated by put you in some form of an illusion. People with Neptune and the 9th house could be religious freaks, but be tied to one religion. Or some of them could be educational freaks, tied to one education system, and come up with all this logic, then debate systems that argue with other people, and they're wrapped up in their own dreams and imagination on how they formulated what they got educated on. So make sure you don't dive too far on either part of the spectrum. But for the most part, Neptune in the 9th house, this makes a person add spirituality or add dreams and creativity and imagination to everything that they learn, to all their meanings and reasonings in their life, to all their philosophical points of views. And it's always got a higher octave to it, and they always dive into it and actually live it and experience it for themselves. Now, Neptune in the 10th house. What is the 10th house? 10th house is your social status, what you're known for, how you're seen, your popularity level, your career, what ultimately can become your career. So, and your status. So that's your 10th house. Now with Neptune here, right, you got a lot of dreams, imaginations, and creativity. And you got a lot of imagination to be seen at the top, to be seen somewhere as a prestige status. You got a lot of imaginations of this. You even fantasize and see other people's business matters or popularity or status or what they're known for, how they're seen and things of that nature. You had a lot of creativity. Now you could be lost in an illusion. Like I said, Neptune brings an illusion. It's always a negative. Don't get wrapped up into someone's status, into someone's prestige, what they're known for, their popularity, into thinking, and then you wrap yourself up into them. And now they got you all wrapped up into an illusion. So be careful of that. But you got a lot of dreams and imagination and creativity when it comes to your own career status. You just have to make sure that you don't be getting wrapped up into somebody else's. A lot of times this play out as in you could just get wrapped up into somebody's presence because they're known for certain things. Then you end up putting a lot of your things on back burner because you think this person is more capable than you. So make sure you don't dive too much in that also. Pardon me. Neptune in the 11th house. Now Neptune, the 11th house, this is the social awareness house. So it's how you conduct yourself in a public arena. So what helped you do that is the unknown and the unfamiliar. Now that got formulated from all things of the 3rd and the 7th house being on a broader level. You know what I'm saying? Because these are the air houses. So 11th house is all things of the 3rd and the 7th house on a broader level. So when I say unknown, these are things that could be known, but there's new things being discovered every day. So the unknown category would be science, astrology, occult, mysticism, and technology, which would be phones, gadgets, cameras, computers, you know, social media. Now, when we talk about the unfamiliar, that's things that can get familiar, but you're not with them on an every second, day-to-day basis. So that could be family members, friends, associates, things you are associated with, organizations, how you organize, the location of these places, the location of your job, when you're out and about. So, you know, for the most part, that's dealing with in long distance travel and things of that nature. So that's dealing with the 11th house. When you have Neptune here, you got a lot of dreams and imagination and creativity and illusions to express on these matters. You're probably a very creative person on your social media pages, probably very creative when it and very imaginative when it comes to communicating with your associates, your friends, your family. You're probably automatically into astrology, science in some type of way, in some form. A lot of scientists has Neptune in the 11th house, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? No, actually believe it. You know what I'm saying? So if you are an atheist or a person who don't believe in astrology or a person who's just naive to this and you are a scientist, probably look at your chart. You'll probably see that I'm probably right. You probably got Neptune in the 11th house. That's probably why you're a scientist or into genetics or anything like that, dealing with broad perspective, but bringing that broad perspective in reality. Because, you know, Saturn and Uranus rules the 11th house. So you got Uranus, rebellion, change, and opposition, but uniqueness and originality and far out thoughts. But then you got Saturn, which rules this reality. So it brings you into reality, how you perceive reality, and how you gain structure in your life. So it's bringing, so Aquarius and the 11th house in general, they bring far out thoughts and like to make sense out of it in reality, in a fixated way, in a unique and original way, in a visualistic way. So for the most part, when you have Neptune here, this is pretty much how you are with your dreams, illusions, and creativity and imagination. When you have Neptune in the 11th house, you just have to make sure you're not around people, places, and things that got you wrapped up in an illusion. Your friends, family, the social media pages you go to, the social websites, things that you watch on the internet, technology, science, all these things can have you wrapped up into an illusion, and you truly believe these things, and these things could change tomorrow. So you have to be aware of that, you know what I'm saying? So Neptune could have you lost in a nap, but Neptune give you amazing creativity, and your creativity will be shown around the world in some way, shape, or form. Now, last but not least, this is where Neptune likes to be. Neptune is at home here. So if you got Neptune in the 12th house, Neptune, look, the 12th house is dreams, illusions, and creativity and imagination. But it's also the subconscious house. It's also the house of connecting with the collective conscious. So Neptune, this is where Neptune loves to be. So a person naturally have the dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination that the rest of the world wish they had. This person problem just have to this person problem with Neptune in the 12th house, they just will have to learn how to formulate this in some type of way. You know so many shapes and forms that if you don't find some type of artistic outlet, find some type of music, find some type of actress or actor work, or find some type of external way to present this, then you will be a long lost person, lost in their dream and imagination, and never actually formulate this. But you have everything it takes, because Neptune is in a world that it actually home. So it's relaxed. It's in a place it likes to be. So you have the actual natural dream, illusion, and creativity and imagination that's filtered through this world with that light information. All that information of those lights is in a place it likes to be when it got admitted into this realm. So you naturally have the natural information of the natural dream, imagination, creativity. If you know what I'm trying to say, that can become overwhelming. You have to learn how to formulate that. So you could put yourself in an illusion, put yourself in a doubtful energy. Or it could play out in an extreme way. You could put yourself in an extra expressing your imagination, in an extra expressing your dreams way. But it won't be in between. You're not your average person. It can either be super passive or super extreme. But you have to learn how to formulate those two, because both of those can take you through a bad alley, or both of those can take you to a good alley. So you're going to have good and bad days. But once you learn how to shape and formulate those to a center, you will be a bad motherfucker with your Neptune in the 12th house. God damn it. Don't you know that? Flight bus, bitch. Goddamn air. And we're going to fly back up through the motherfucking cosmos. Hold on. Goddamn.